Okay, chapter 30, part 1. Piso's in the middle of his speech to the Praetorian guards on the steps of the palace. He's speaking with a degree of rhetorical polish. Whether that's going to be lost on these soldiers is for you to decide, but it's an elegant speech. And he starts off in the very first sentence with a bit of pt1. And he says, literally, I will arrogate nothing to myself of nobility or self-restraint. In other words, I don't want to talk about my own nobility or qualities of self-restraint. And by not talking about it, of course, he mentions it. And that's called pt1. And that's quite subtle, because the hint is that he does have nobility and self-restraint, but Otho doesn't. Notice the two partitive genitives here, nobilitatis modestiae. They are partitive genitives after nihil. Nihil vini, no wine, nothing of wine. So there we go. First sentence out the way. Notice the two abstract nouns. Tacitus loves abstract nouns, therefore Piso does, because guess who's really writing the speech? And Piso goes on to be nicely catty. Neque enim relatu virtutum in comparatione Othonis opus est. Now do understand that opus est plus the ablative means there is need of something. Neque opus est relatu. There's no need of any mention, relatu, of virtues in the assessment of Otho. In other words, he hasn't got any virtues. The man, as the very next word, vitia, shows, is a man totally composed of vices. So why waste time mentioning Otho's virtues? He hasn't got any. The virtues quibus solis gloriator, the vices in which alone he glories. He's really proud of his terrible behaviour and his excesses, all these negative points. That's slightly paradoxical. Normally we glory in things that are positive, but no, not Otho. He's quite sick. He glories in things that are negative. And these vices of his, everterunt, is what that verb is properly. This is a shortened poetic form. It's not a historic infinitive. Have overthrown an empire. You could translate imperium as empire, emperorship, emperor, all sorts of things. It's a difficult word to pin down. It's got so many nuances. But you could argue that Otho's involvement in Nero's reign not only brought down Nero, but threw the whole empire into chaos. Hence, us getting Galba, marching all the way from Spain to become the next emperor. Etiam cum amicum imperatoris ageret. I think the key word here is ageret. Ago means a do or act, even when he was acting the part of an emperor's friend. So Otho's a false friend. He's duplicitous. A nice rhetorical question coming up with a tricolon, and this is pretty devastating. Mererator, let's start there. It's in the imperfect subjunctive. Should he deserve, it's a deponent verb, should he deserve supreme power with his habitu, with his demeanour and his gait and that womanly attire that he wears. His gait, well, that is Piso suggesting that Otho is rather effeminate and minces around. His womanly attire, well, most Romans looked like women because they wore togas anyway if they were of the right class. But it leaves things to the imagination. That's a nice tricolon. And Tacitus's tricolor, very often the third element is something large and vague. So habitu incessu are pretty easy to nail down, but an illo muliebri ornatu, that's the hammer blow, and it's nicely vague. It's not clear what is being suggested there. I think if you're addressing soldiers, do you need to be that subtle or vague? The next sentence, starting with faluntur, that's quite difficult. I think the key is to translate quibus as accusative. It goes with imponit at the end there. Impono means impress. In English you can impress upon, that's where the dative's coming from, but let's just go with impress followed by the accusative. They are deceived. Those people are deceived. Whom? His wanton extravagance impresses. Whom his wanton extravagance in the guise of generosity impresses. Sciet iste, that man, that horrible man, will know how to waste money all right. Nesciet donara, he will not know how to give it. And donara there surely reminds us of donativum, a warning from Piso. He spends money like water. Don't think there's going to be any left to give you a donative. Even now, he is contemplating. Even now, perhaps he's on the brink of becoming the next emperor. What do you think he's thinking about? Matters of state? No. Even now, he's going over in his mind debaucheries and revelries and gatherings of women. Of course, women are sort of bête noire for Romans. And the idea that a Roman gentleman would be consorting with gatherings of women is just appalling. Again, a nice tricolon there, and he's left the hammer blow, the most appalling thing, mixing with women, to the end. These things he considers to be the primia principatus, the rewards of power, of the principate, of the emperorship. Lovely plosive alliteration there, makes that really striking. A lust for which and a pleasure in which may well be deeply seated within the man himself. But the rubor ac decus, but the shame and dishonour will be deeply within the rest of us, everybody else. So the way he behaves, this is a bit like Donald Trump, surely. He revels in, he takes great pleasure in all sorts of terrible things, whereas the rest of us just sit there and think, oh my God, this is terrible. That's the point I think that Piso's making. Indeed, no one ever practiced power properly, literally with good skills. Nobody ever practiced power acquired by outrageous behaviour. Bonis artibus. Properly. Nobody has ever acquired power by treasonable activity and consequently ruled decently. The way you achieve power is the way you practice it, says Piso. Be warned. That's enough for the first half. I'll pause it there.